How did Joseph II's reforms affect the aristocracy? If you're curious about how Joseph II's reforms impacted the aristocracy, let's take a closer look at the significant changes he introduced during his reign. Joseph II, known for his enlightened absolutist policies, implemented a series of reforms that directly challenged the traditional privileges and power of the aristocracy. One of the key areas where this was evident was in his legal reforms. Joseph II abolished brutal punishments and introduced the principle of equality before the law, which meant that nobles were no longer exempt from the same laws as commoners. His reforms also targeted the economic and social status of the nobility. For instance, Joseph II's policies aimed to reduce the power of local magnates and nobles by centralizing governance and enhancing bureaucratic oversight. This move stripped the nobility of their historical prerogatives and reduced their influence over local affairs. In terms of land ownership and serfdom, Joseph II's reforms were particularly impactful. He abolished serfdom through his imperial patent of 1785, which gave peasants personal freedom, although it did not grant them ownership of the land. This change threatened the economic position of the nobles, who had long relied on the labor of serfs. The landlords in Hungary and Transylvania were especially resistant to these reforms, leading to significant unrest and eventual reversals of some of these policies. Joseph II also attacked the traditional partnership between the monarchy and the nobility by introducing a merit-based system for government positions. This meant that promotions were no longer based on class or ethnic origins but on individual merit, further eroding the nobility's privileged status. His policies on language and administration added to the nobility's discontent. By making German the compulsory language of official business throughout the Habsburg Monarchy, Joseph II undermined the linguistic and cultural autonomy of various regions, particularly Hungary. The Diet of Hungary, a key institution for the Hungarian nobility, was stripped of its prerogatives and not even called together during his reign. In the realm of religion, Joseph II's reforms further alienated the aristocracy. He suppressed monastic orders, reduced the number of holy days, and simplified church ceremonies, all of which were deeply unpopular among the traditionally Catholic nobles. His attempts to make the Catholic Church serve the state rather than Rome led to significant anti-clerical and anti-monarchical sentiment. Overall, Joseph II's reforms were a direct challenge to the aristocracy's traditional privileges, economic power, and social status. While these reforms were intended to modernize and centralize the state, they ultimately created many enemies among the nobility, contributing to the resistance and eventual failure of many of his policies.